Ball is caught by Bellinger. What a catch!
With a world heavyweight title lying in the balance. Down the left winger.
You are now listening to Jocks and Geeks with J&P. Let's go.
Yo, yo, yo. You're listening to Jocks and Geeks with J&P, a podcast about everything from goalpost to goalpost to ring post to ring post, the hardwood floor to the diamond. I'm one of the two hosts of this hard-hitting show. My name is Patrick. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AlienPstar88. The other host of the show is a heel of all heels. His name is Julio. Take it away, Julio.
Yo, 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 Pat the man, baby. He is by the undisputed king of pop. That's Funko Pop, that is. I am Julio. I am the J of the show. I am hashtag Heel City. You can find me at Sanchez Edgar on Twitter. I'm working on the Instagram and the Snap for all you young folks. I am definitely all things heel. I am the jelly to his peanut butter. Let's get into it. Pat, yo, bring us in, baby. What's up? Let's shout out to our producer, the great in the house.
Yes, Andy. This dude, he's been there for us. We got this ball rolling. I gotta thank you for it, man. Thank you. So we're gonna start off with an intro about ourselves. Me personally, I'm a diehard Cowboy fan. Pro wrestling's in my veins too. And like Julio said, I am a Funko Pop collector, and I am a Spurs fan too. Being a diehard Cowboy fan doesn't mean I'm gonna be biased towards them. I'm just gonna have more of an input as a Dallas Cowboy fan. Now, Julio, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am definitely a sports nut. We get related just for the mere fact that we are geeks. We are geeks. Let's not forget that. We are geeks and jocks. I am more the jock of the team, but I am from Chicago originally. So I definitely all things Chicago. From the Bears is my team, Bulls, Cubs, Blackhawks, you name it. Obviously, got love for the Cubbies. Now, I am a Texas transplant now. As you can see, I am now living in Texas. So I do got love for the Spurs and the Cowboys. And like Patrick said, just because I'm all things Chicago, Windy City, doesn't mean I'm going to be biased. We're going to keep it as real as we can because we are the J&P podcast. Take it away, Pat.
Yes. So one thing I forgot to mention, I was born and raised in the great city of El Paso, Texas, where one of the great wrestlers, Eddie Guerrero, yes, that Eddie Guerrero. He was born and raised as well, so that's one thing that I forgot to mention. That's probably one of the top fives, and Julio would agree that he is one of the top five in the wrestling world, period. Couple things we're going to talk about today is Zeke worth the money? It's a funny topic that we talk about that because Julio and I, we both had this conversation, and this conversation's been pretty heated between times, and we decided, hey, let's throw it on the record and, see how other people react to it. So let's go ahead and start off with that. Zeke.
I think Pat hit it on the nail there. I think, as a matter of fact, we would love all of you guys' input on the subject as well. Hit us up on our social media. Follow us. As a matter of fact, comment. What do you guys think? Who's right? Who's wrong? Are you on Team Pat? Are you on Team J? Let us know, because here's the thing. Like I was telling Pat, is Zeke worth the money? I mean, here's the thing. In my opinion, I'll get right into it. Let's not waste any time. We're 4 games into this season, 4 games deep. That's a quarter of the NFL season. So in my unbiased opinion, I actually should say, I am not ready to back up the Brinks truck to this man. First of all, he plays the running back position. It's a position that really you don't have to overpay for. It's something that, you throw your money at the line, offense, defensive line, quarterbacks, receivers. Here's the thing. Ezekiel, in my opinion, is a great running back. I'm not saying he's trash, but here's the thing. Since he's been drafted, since Pat likes to use numbers, and you guys will get real familiar with that on the podcast moving forward, is that he's been nothing but drama off the field. It's been one thing after another. This guy has shown nothing but immaturity. He hasn't matured yet. He hasn't shown a level of maturity. And for example, you want one sample size for this season alone, Pat? I'll give you one sample. That's it. The Saints game, Sunday night, big stage, Sunday night game. No Drew Brees, on the road against a tough Saints team regardless. That's a defensive struggle That's one of you're the highest paid running back in the league. You better give me something than 35 yards on 18 carries, Pat. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? To speak on that, it's almost like you got to have the well-oiled machine. And we're not going to say that Zeke didn't run well because he didn't. Truthfully, he didn't. He played like a subpar running back. But you know what? I'm going to talk a little bit on your point. You don't have to worry about backing up that Brinks truck because Jerry already did. But now, here's the thing. Zeke needs to prove it. And, being a Dallas Cowboy fan, Zeke was one of the things in the offseason that worried me. He personally got to that point where I was like, man, if this guy doesn't sign, how are we going to do it? Because in the NFL, if you don't have a running game, then what happens to your passing game? Everybody knows that you're going to pass. The first 3 games of the season, yeah, they were cupcakes. I'm going to tell you that. They are cupcakes. But when it came down to it, they won. And they won convincingly. They didn't have any problems winning against those teams that they shouldn't have won. Yeah, we played the Saints. We lost by 2 points. We lost by field goals. We scored touchdowns. They scored field goals. Zeke should have took over that game. That should have been out his breakout game. Personally, he's just trying to get back in the groove. He didn't play in the preseason. He was in Kabul celebrating, partying, doing whatever he wants. He said he was training, but now we're in the NFL season. You got paid. You got your money. Let's go. Let's go, Zeke. You got to eat. Keep it going.
So let me ask you something, P. Who's his best friend on the team?
Dak.
Exactly. That's the thing, P. So what I'm saying is he's got to look no further than his best buddy and his quarterback on the team. This guy, I'm not saying is the next coming of Troy Aikman. It's not what I'm saying. But that guy is a great leader. And here's the thing. He's got to look no further than his best buddy. What I mean by that is the guy's also trying to get paid. Okay? You don't hear him complaining, going to Cabo, doing all these other things. All you see is this guy go on the field, say the right things, do the right things, be a leader, show up, play. Now, I never thought I'd be saying this, but as of right now, you know what? I'm on Team Dak between the two because if you ask me right now, if you're a real football fan and a Cowboys fan, who would you rather not lose at this point? I tell you one thing. We can play without Ezekiel Elliott. If I'm the Cowboys, I'd rather not lose Dak. If we lose Dak, we're up the paddle without a creek, my friend.
No, yeah, I agree. And speaking about speaking about that, Dak did show up. He has shown up. He's been throwing the ball a lot better. He's been throwing it deep. But now we got to get the running game. We paid a lot of money for it, so let's go ahead and continue and keep it going. You got your money. Now let's go. Let's take it to the Super Bowl. All right. Our next subject that we have is going to be the top teams and early season MVP. Personally, NFC, AFC. Obviously, the AFC, there's two-headed monster that is going to take the league right now, and that's the Patriots and that's the Chiefs. Julio, do you agree with that?
No doubt, P. Right now in the AFC, it's 2 teams ahead of everybody else in that conference, not to mention ahead of everybody in the entire NFL. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you at the way I think it is right now. It is the Chiefs. It is the Pats. Chiefs, prolific offense. Patrick Mahomes, the Patriots defense is actually carrying them up to this point. And you still have Brady. Who the other top 3 teams in the AFC? It varies. You could put, it doesn't really matter. You could put, the Chargers, the Ravens, whoever you want. It doesn't matter. Moving on, as you mentioned on the, just because, we got to get into the meat of things, I'll give you right now my top 5, period, overall. My MVP pick. You gave me yours, P. So my top teams as of right now, you hit it. I'm going to go Chiefs, Patriots, and I'm going to actually throw you a curveball because you don't expect this, but I'm actually going to go ahead and give you, I'm actually going to put the Saints at number 3 again. They went up to Seattle in that Rockets environment, beat a tough Seattle team on the road without Drew Brees. They just beat your Dallas Cowboys at 3-0 at home without Drew Brees. So I'm putting it at 3. And here's how I'm going to go ahead and put the Dallas Cowboys at 4. I will put your Cowboys at 4 just because it's a bump on the road. But you know what? Regardless, they have the talent. And I'm not being biased whatsoever. But just because our defense is that legit good, I am putting the Bears number 5. And as far as the MVP talk goes, I know you expect me to say Pat Mahomes, your homie, your namesake, but I'm going to throw you a curveball. I'm actually, this one I might be a little biased, but I actually feel it. MVP after 4 games is Khalil Mack. Before you lose your head on that, gentlemen, let me go ahead and explain to you on why it is Khalil Mack. The man is the most disruptive force in the NFL. Single-handedly leads the best defense in the league. At 3-1, you talk about Dak. We have no, good quarterback players at this point, Mitch, my boy. But the truth of the matter is, we don't have quarterback play that's adequate or decent right now. Khalil Mack is by far the best player in the league right now. I don't know you. What'd you say, Pete?
Okay, so top 5, we got the first 4 right. I'm going to tell you that. The first 4, Chiefs, Patriots, Saints, and the Cowboys. Now, number 5, I went to the Rams because you can't count off the NFC champions from last year. Yeah, they had a shootout with the Buccaneers that they shouldn't have lost. They lost, moved them down from 3 to down to 5. The Bears on the outside looking in, but what scares everyone the most about the Bears is the quarterback. They have Chase Daniels right now, which personally, I liked him at Missouri. He was a great quarterback. I really, really liked him. I think he I don't know who he played for before he came to the Bears, but that was
It was the Chiefs.
It was the Chiefs, yeah. But I think they got rid of him because of Pat Mahomes, because they didn't need him. But when you look at everything right now, top 1 through 5, it's scary because the AFC is garbage except for the 2 best teams.
And I hear you on the Rams, and I really do, and I give them all props, defending NFC champs. But the only reason, like I said, I stuck with the Bears, not because I'm being biased, but basically they have to survive. They got the Raiders next, which is a revenge game, an ultimate revenge game. Khalil Mack is going to literally single-handedly put that game on his shoulders. Yeah. We got a bye after that. That buys Mitch 2 weeks, okay? And then after that, maybe we can survive a game. It's going to be tough. We got the Saints. So with that being said, I know you mentioned you mentioned the Chiefs a couple of times. So with that being said, is that who your MVP is after 4 games? Are you going Mahomes?
Right now, I had a top 5. I had a top 5 list. Just break them off really quick. Leonard Fournette, he rushed for 404 yards. He's 2-2 as the Jaguars. So that's one player that I say that without their defense, their offense, their offense right now is clicking because of him. Now, number 4, I got Jared Goff. Obviously, he's throwing miles and miles. Dalvin Cook, he's keeping the Minnesota Vikings alive. Christian McCaffrey is another player that's underrated right now because he's rushing for 411 yards. But the thing is the Panthers are 2-2. And, of course, number 1, right now, the early season MVP is Pat Mahomes. I have to give it to him just because of the fact that the kid is amazing. He's, doing stuff. He led the Chiefs.
Texas kid.
A comeback. He did a comeback against the Lions, which is a game that they shouldn't have won. The Lions, I don't know how the Lions are playing.
Would you say he's the Steph Curry of the NFL, Pat?
The stuff he does is almost like a Madden code. Yeah, he has a 99 overall rating in Madden after 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. He is the Steph Curry of the NFL. So, I can't speak anymore other than what I said, but right now that's who we're looking at. The top player is Pat Mahomes. You can't take it away from him at all. And like I said, I like your Bears. They have problems, and they say defense wins championships, but offense puts up points. So, until they can get that figured out, and once hopefully Mitch comes back and he has a metal plate in his arm, hey, he might throw for 5,000 yards too.
Look, if I'm not mistaken, you're a diehard Spurs fan, so I'll just end this topic on one thing and one thing only. I believe your coach, Greg Popovich, said it all on this last thing. It said, you are what your record is. And regardless, you can say all you want about Mitch, and I completely agree. Obviously Mitch is banged up, got to step up. but you are what your record is. And after 4 games in the season, we are 3-1 after all, tied with the Green Bay Packers. So you can say what you will, but we're only going to get better. And the Bears defense is coming for everybody. That's all I got to say about that. And that's the bottom line.
So before we drop this topic and go to other important things that we have to talk
Hint,
about,
hint. And that's the bottom line, is why I said, baby.
December is going to be a game that is going to be one for the podcast. Dallas versus Chicago. They're going to be in Chicago. Trust me, that podcast is going to be special for both of us.
Lit.
All right. Next subject is going to be our WWE, AEW, everything in pro wrestling news. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. We had a show on Monday. It was Raw. And I'm going to start off with the most, I don't want to say disturbing, but my girlfriend
Well, you can
was
say
watching.
it. You can go ahead and say it. It's disturbing.
My girlfriend was watching, and she's like, "Who's that girl kissing that guy?" And I was like, "Well, the girl's name is Lana. The guy's name is Bobby Lashley. Oh yeah, by the way, Lana, her husband's in the ring." And she's like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Yeah." It kind of reminded me almost like a situation that we had back in the Attitude Era with Lita and Matt Hardy and Edge. I mean, that was some pretty raunchy stuff. But I mean, this right here, I mean, what can I say? It was almost like,
What you can say is that the PG era is officially over. That's what you can say. It's
you
done
know,
with.
thank you, because right now that PG era, that you know, the era that we live in now, it has to get that. To get the ratings, you have to push that envelope, and they did that. They did that in a big way,
I wasn't
and
comfortable sitting through that.
yeah,
And I'm a hashtag heel.
it was a crazy moment, and it kind of, like I said, it brought me to the whole Edge, Lita, center ring, the bed incident. I was like, that had like a little connection to it, which kind of makes me happy that we're bringing back. We're not going to bring back the Attitude Era, but we're in a state where they're doing everything they can to get the ratings to take it away from AEW. That was the number one topic right now that for the Raw review, that was the number one thing that I wanted to talk about. I mean, I got a couple more, but what was something
I
that
think the
you,
biggest takeaway for me, and funny that you mentioned that, Patty, you went to a couple of, I don't want to say new guys because Lashley's been around. Rusev is obviously one of the newer people. So it's great that you kind of hit on that. But my biggest takeaway from Raw is, I'm gonna tell you right now, I think it was the beginning of the show. I think that was my biggest takeaway because it was awesome, but sad in a way. Let me explain to you the sad part. Awesome in the sense that you had obviously a great kickoff to the show with obviously, Miss TV with introducing, Rick and Hogan, the two legendary, figures that they are. But here's where I think the sad part is. You cannot, that's the whole thing. New generation, you're trying to compete, you're trying to make new stars, here's the thing. It's sad because you cannot have the legendary GOATs like Ric Flair and Hogan still show the Young Bucks. No pun intended, baby, to the Young Bucks, shout out. But you cannot have Ric Flair still literally get a mic and spit out a great promo literally in a matter of a few seconds and still outdo all the young performers in the WWE today. And literally the two gentlemen in the ring are both Hogan's like what? I don't know, upward of 70. Nature's upward of 70. A combined
yep.
age of 140 minimum. And the two men literally just still showed why they are who they are and still ran circles. I tell you one thing, the tease, which we all know it's not going to happen, but look at what they did. Single-handedly in a matter of a couple minutes, they had everybody eating at the palm of their hands, and everybody's ready to shell out $45 to, I'm buying a Hogan Flair match, just to give you an example.
And you touched on a great subject that I have on my little list, that the Team Flair and Team Hogan. The promos that they cut were typical Hogan Flair rivalry promos that we expect. And you know what? That's one thing that I noticed from this generation, from the last generation to the Attitude Era is promos are key. That's how you draw your crowd. I mean, what's one promo that you can remember off the top of your head that catches your attention? Is for me is Austin 316. I just whooped your. That's one of the ones that got my attention. Who I remember watching as a kid. I was saying, I was saying that as a little kid, but I mean, that's something that the new generation doesn't have. They don't have the promo cutting skills that this generation has. So hopefully, with this Team Flair, Team Hogan thing, it's gonna help them build their promo skills. I mean, obviously, it's all a work, but the thing is hopefully they get to hang out with Flair. What made you a heel, Flair? Besides your charisma, the way you were on the mic, how passionate you were, how Hogan, told kids to say their
See, here's
prayers
the
and
thing. It's
take
funny
their
how you
medicine.
say that, right? Because I'm gonna show my age a little bit here to to our audience because I am a little older than you. Like, and my promo who sucked me in was Macho Man right off the bat. SummerSlam '91.
Ooh yeah.
Nobody could cut a promo like him back in the day. And here's the thing: you hit on a couple of things. Then Generation Attitude Era came. There's only one Rock. There's only one Stone Cold. There's only one Chris Jericho. Yes, right. Les Champions, which we'll get into it in just a minute. Now and this generation, the reason it's because it's so vanilla. It's been so scripted. It's been so, this is what you got to say. And if you get out of the boundaries, you're going to get in trouble backstage. There is no more edge rated R. There is no more, like you said, back in the day. The closest thing to this, and just a shout out to my boy, the Windy City, the closest thing that you've had in this generation is the pipe bomb by none other than my boy, CM Punk. Shout out to CM Punk. But that's the thing. Well, that's what I was saying. It's sad because you had a man under 70 and Nate and Hogan still schooling the young guys.
No, yeah, I agree. And not to jump off subject, but speaking of somebody who was brought up during that time that we both watched, Rey Mysterio. With everything that happened with him, Dominic, and Brock, that was one situation that kind of was like, I kind of was hoping for Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, but it's a dream match, but at the same time, you knew it wasn't going to happen. It's Raw. It's one of those things where you expect the unexpected, and that's something that kind of hit me a little hard because I was expecting Ray versus Seth for the title. Obviously, it didn't happen, but hey, shout out to that jacket.
You
It
know
was
what? I
Eddie
saw that.
Guerrero
I
and
saw
him.
that.
That was a
Sick
beautiful
jacket.
jacket.
I'll buy that. Take my money. You know what? Here's the thing. You're right. Rey Mysterio, living legend. Seth Rollins is quote quote, and I have the air quotes. The face of the company right now, air quotes. And of course, you would love to see that, right? Ray said. But here's the thing. You know what? Sign me up. Sign me up for what's next between the saga between Brock, Ray, and Dominic. Let's see what's going on with that.
We probably won't be seeing that for a while. I mean, obviously, Dominic wants to jump into the business, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I have a feeling personally that this whole thing with Cain Velasquez supposedly wanting to sign with either AEW or WWE, that's a way that WWE can bring him in. Say, hey, you know what? Mexican pride right there. Let's go ahead and you picked on somebody smaller than you who, he's underweighed you by at least a good 200 pounds. Let's go ahead and throw Kane in there. Who's the one that beat him in UFC? Cain Velasquez. And then Kane can say, you know what? I have something on you, Brock. I beat you in the UFC. You can go ahead and beat all these other guys the way you do, but you're not going to treat me like that. And that's one thing I can see happening possibly. Speaking of Seth Rollins, the Fiend, man, these last 2-3 weeks with the Fiend, I mean, it's amazing. I love the Firefly House. It's amazing. Like it's Mr. Rogers meets WWE, and it's a great It's a great
You know, and
segment that
it's
they have.
and it's funny that you say that because as long as I've been talking to you about wrestling, you've been huge on Bray. And as a matter of fact, just on my notes from today, I actually had that was one of my bullet points. Is Bray Wyatt not? I'm not sold on Bray Wyatt. And here's the thing on why I'm not sold on Bray Wyatt. don't get me wrong, the Fiend is a great way to change his gimmick altogether. Get him reintroduced, get him doing things. But I've seen this before. I've seen this TV show before with Bray Wyatt. I've seen it. I've seen it. We get behind the guy. He does his thing. But I mean, I'm not so sure. I'm not bought in. I don't buy into the Fireflies. What is it? The Firehouse Hour. I'm not buying into the Fiend. You know what? And as a matter of fact, this whole and Seth's my boy, but the whole thing, the feud. Sign me up for a different feud. Wake me up when this feud's over. I'm done for the next one. I'm not into it.
They honestly made Seth look pretty weak, and I completely understand where you're coming from. I'm excited for the Fiend. I'm excited for them. Hell in the Cell, SmackDown. Let's go. Um, SmackDown live Friday. How exciting is this going to be? Um, this is one thing I can tell you about it, that with SmackDown being live and everything, one thing I'm excited about personally is Brock. Brock is he's an attraction. The attraction that is able to uh, bring in attention, and obviously against Kofi, that's one thing that I can tell you is that it's the power of positivity versus the beast incarnate. They're gonna have a good match. I mean, there are gonna be other things that are happening on SmackDown, but honestly, I think what we really need to talk about right now is the Wednesday Night Wars. You're a big fan of the Young Bucks, the Bullet Club when they were part of the Bullet Club.
We are Nick and Matt
AEW,
after all.
we are. We're both fans of it, but the war happened today. The battle, not the war, because battles can be win loss. But the thing is the war is going to keep going. I have a couple talking points about AEW. I know that you do, and then of course we're going to go ahead and jump into the NXT, and then we're going to talk about who you personally think won and who I personally think won, and then I think that's our producers telling us that's going to be pretty much it right now. So let's go ahead and kick it off with AEW. Go ahead.
So, couple of quick observations right off the bat. They're here and they're legit. Right off the bat, observation is the obvious. Arena's full debut show. Get it. Professional all the way around. Set looking great. First of all, commentators. You can't go wrong with the GOAT commentator. You signed him in your. You got him behind your. Your payroll. You got Jr. Jim Ross, the GOAT. You got great ring crew. You got everything that you need to have a great wrestling company right there. And then my quick hit observations is right off the bat is I think they established who their biggest heels are going to be, who their biggest faces, biggest heels being, and my personal favorite, since we are establishing mine and your personalities, this is a good time to get out there to the masses. My personal favorite wrestler of all time, it is the one and only Jericho, Y2J. We can establish Le Champion as the biggest heel. We do have obviously now established that John Moxley is obviously one of the biggest heels. And from the looks of it, what I came away from, it looks like their two biggest faces in that regard is going to be the one and only American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and of course your boy, Kenny Omega. Those are just something that I caught. I don't know what you noticed right off the bat.
I mean, personally, from top to bottom, there wasn't really a match that I can say that I wasn't excited for. I mean, obviously, the triple threat with the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz, that was a big one. I mean, but the first match to kick it off, Cody and Sammy Guevara, that was a match I didn't expect was going to be worth it. And that kid, Sammy, he's gonna be a true heel. Um, he brings intensity. He's quick. He kind of reminds me of Will Ospreay a little bit. Not really like him, but the way he's athletic. That's one thing that I noticed that people like Ricochet, Cesaro, Sami Zayn, they're athletic, and you don't have to have that power to put on a show. And there's critics out there that say, you know what, we're not here to watch Circus Soleil. We're here to watch a wrestling match. But that's the thing. is if you could tell a great story in the match and have the athleticism, why not throw it in there? I mean, that's a big plus, and that's gonna get people up cheering when they're doing a backflip from the top rope onto the floor. Everyone's gonna pop for that, and you're gonna get those chants NXT or Fight Forever, and that's one thing I can see about that kid Sammy is he's gonna have that. Um, but
And and then once again, you mentioned a little bit ago the wars, the Wednesday night wars. I think you're definitely onto something here because it's a war. Now today, when the ratings come out tomorrow, the next day, whatever, we all know the obvious. Obviously, we know that AEW is gonna crush NXT in the ratings just for the mere fact that debut show, first ever show, you got it. But you know what? As a kid, I was a WWF kid. I was not a WCW kid, even though I saw it. I still loyal. I'm loyal to the brand. I'm loyal to Vince. I love anything wrestling related, but I am loyal, so I'm not being biased. But the NXT. I know you covered a lot of great points about the AEW, what what you took away from it. Now I'll go ahead and give you my NXT pointers and what I think on why they are also, the brand.
well,
First, go ahead.
before we jump on that, let's throw out the big surprise of the night. Jack Hager, aka Jack Swagger. I mean, that guy he was gone. He was doing MMA, and all of a sudden he popped out, and he's part of that heel faction. That heel faction that kind of looked like it was taking over AEW. It wasn't even about the fact that it was all elite. It was more of the fact that we're outsiders coming in. Kind of remind you of the old
Little
NWO
bit,
type
little bit,
situation.
which I like. I like. Don't love because the reason I don't love is because I think that AEW maybe might have just, it's a shout out to our producer. Maybe they might have shot their load a little bit too quick with that one. What I mean by that is like maybe let's go ahead and hold off on giving all of our surprises off away on the first night of the very first night of the show. Let's go ahead and have some surprises left for the next show or the show after that. We don't want to go ahead and give all our way. You're excited about the Jack Hagar as you should as a wrestling fan. I'm actually excited for a different kind of debut tonight. Speaking of the Wednesday Night Wars, it's a real debut in my opinion. I mean, if he's not gonna be utilized in the main roster, I mean, the man, if Vince, and I say Vince because we all know Triple H is a man that should be running everything by now. But if he's not gonna be utilized the way he should be on the main roster, Raw or SmackDown, you're completely missing, my friend. The re-debut, in my opinion. Let's see. You know who I'm talking about? The man himself. You know, I'm talking about Finn Balor. That is back on the NXT brand. What do you think about that?
That honestly was the most surprising thing of the night. Yeah, Jake Hagar came out and surprised everyone. Everyone thought he was doing MMA, but when Finn came out, that pop. I mean, don't get me wrong, because Full Sail is a smaller arena. It's micro size compared to what AEW is doing. But man, everyone went nuts. I was one of those that was just shocked. I was like Undertaker guy when he came out. I was like mouth to the floor, and I was like, "What?" And here's one thing that was great when he came out. He one thing that kind of got my attention. He goes, "As of now, Finn Balor is NXT," which everyone went crazy for, which Adam Cole wasn't expecting. Obviously, in the program we're in, it was one of those things that was kept to the chest that no one knew about. But the thing is now Adam Cole doesn't have a target with Finn Balor's name on it. He also has another target, and we're gonna get to the end of NXT. But another thing I want to throw out too is Velveteen Dream. He is by far one of my favorite wrestlers out there, period. Seeing him on Tough Enough, seeing him come up and make his own character, and he's almost like, I don't want to say like a ravishing Rick Rude, because he has that I don't know. What would you say?
I think he's got the it factor, and I think he's a self-made. As you mentioned, he was literally one of the guys that people were ready to dismiss on Tough Enough because of how poor his performance was. He didn't. It was one of those guys where it didn't seem like he had it. So for him to literally work his way up to where he's at now, big props to the guy. Huge props. Now, it's great that you're, talking about what happened tonight because look at this. I just think, you know what? Jericho, Cody, Omega, the Young Bucks, Hager, Neville, the list goes on, right? And then you got, like you just said, give me for my money now, the one and only. You got Finn, and not to mention Adam Cole, baby, the Velveteen Dream. With you got all these things on Undisputed Era and NXT. For my money, I think what we just talked about, just you and me in the last couple of minutes, I tell you one thing. If anything, if you can take anything away from this night and this night alone as a wrestling fan, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, you guys better bring it. You guys better bring your A game because as of right now, me personally, my two favorite shows of the week right now is NXT and AEW. And so Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, you best bring your game. Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, NXT is they're taking out every stop that they have. They're bringing their A game, and they have to. They're going up against veteran wrestlers in AEW. I mean, obviously AEW wants to morph their own characters, but I mean, come on, Tommaso Ciampa coming out, looking straight at the title, and then staring down Adam Cole, like he never lost the title. He had to relinquish it because he was hurt. Cool. Give him a rematch. That's one thing that we want. We want his rematch. We want him to earn his chance to get it. Now, where does that leave Finn? Finn's on the outside looking in. Obviously, he came from the main roster. He lost to Bray Wyatt, aka The Fiend, and that's one thing is that he just jumped ship to another.
I just think that Finn's gonna flourish at the NXT brand just for the mere fact you hit it. He gets lost in the shuffle very easily on the main roster right now. We shouldn't even call it the main roster anymore. But just for the fact that he gets lost on Raw and SmackDown, you got too many big names. You got whether it's like you said, Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, AJ, and not that Finn is not as talented because for my money, he is one of the best wrestlers in the world, bar none, right now. But he goes back to NXT. He can be back. Don't forget, the man carried the NXT brand for 2-3 years. So I think it's beneficial for him. Now you got Finn's back, Adam Cole, baby. You got the Velveteen Dream, Tommaso Ciampa, who's been the absolute best heel in the game for the last year and a half. So you take that alone, you throw that against what AEW threw out there, which Wednesday night is a night that people are going to want to tune into their TVs. And me, for one, is a huge diehard wrestling fan. I'm pumped, and I can't wait.
So, to end it out, let's go ahead and who do you think won?
You know what? This is the point, in my opinion. Before I tell you who I think won, you know what? Shout out to our fans, our listeners. I really want to go ahead and thank each and every one of you for, coming on board. I hope that you can join us on this adventure. Please tell your friend, tell your sister, your brother, your cousin, anybody who's willing to go ahead and listen to us. We will talk about everything from the Funkos coming up, you guys will know, to the movies, to the Marvels. But yes, we'll cover sports and wrestling. So look, in my opinion, the winner of the night, again, nothing, on NXT because that is my brand. WWE, Triple H is my boy. But in my opinion, the winner of the night tonight, it's gonna be Le Champion, Chris Jericho, and AEW.
Yes, I agree. AEW took that show. I mean, from beginning to the end, they had, a top card. I mean, I'm not gonna doubt it. It was a top card. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap it out at this point. Remember to follow us at Instagram. We both have personal Instagrams. We also have one for the podcast. The podcast is JNP Podcast at, with Twitter and Instagram. Another thing too, I'm going to give a shout out to Xavier Estrada. He actually was one of our first fans. He actually tweeted at us, and, we don't have a picture yet. We don't have anything. Things are coming, guys. We're starting this. It's a snowball effect. We're just going to get bigger and bigger. But give a big shout out to Xavier Estrada. just because of the fact he gave us a shout out right off the beginning. So let's go ahead and end this. My name is Pat. My social media, Instagram and Twitter is AlienPStar88. Julio?
Like I said, guys, once again, thanks, a big thanks to everybody. And like I said, bring on board whoever you want. And we are like NXT in a sense that we are starting from the bottom and you come with us. It's like that one song that Drake said, right? We're going to make it to the top and we want each and every one of you to go to the top with us. You can follow me as of right now on Twitter at Sanchez Edgar for right now. We are working on the Snap, the Instagram and all that. And once again, before I leave the show, I do want to go ahead once again. This would not be possible without a producer in the house. That is Andy the Great. Shout out.
Yes, sir. Shout out. Peace out. Later.
Thank you guys for listening. Tune in to next episodes with Jocks and Geeks with J and P.